Hello, Chicago. Welcome to another CANTV episode of Chicago Corner, where we cover the news across the 50 wards in Chicago that make it the best city in the world. Short of the violence that we're trying to contend with here in the city. I want to welcome you all to I believe this is our 5th episode of Chicago Corner here on CANTV. And joining us this broadcast, as well as covering news that is in the Chicago area, we also cover news that comes across the state of Illinois that impacts Chicago. And we have with us tonight from Defy Ventures, Melissa Odell.
Hi, Jerry.
Hello. Who's the executive director of Defy Ventures, which is a nationwide organization that just came to our attention by virtue of inviting you onto the show. Thank you for sharing with us what Defy does. This is, I think, a very, very exciting conversation we're going to have, because so often on Chicago Corner, we talk about the city of Chicago's reaction to violent crime, right? We don't always want to complain about the problems. We want to find the solutions. What Defy Ventures does, not only here in the state of Illinois, which also affects Chicago and safety nationwide, is they offer programs for prisoners getting out of prison to have an easier chance at getting a job, getting a second chance, as well as building their own businesses. And as we know, so much of crime is not violent. It's not always violent crimes. And a lot of nonviolent offenders are not being given the second chance that they deserve to become valuable members of society who recognize and have already, done the time for whatever it was that they were put into prison for, and want to make amends and actually do something better with their lives and also give back to the community. This speaks to, it's a good reactionary response to the fact that sadly a lot of people who might be charged with crimes that go into prison don't have the opportunities that might lead them astray to making a bad choice, which puts them into prison, right? So if they don't have the opportunities or the investment in their communities to avoid some bad choices, this offers them the opportunity, once they're out of prison after they've served their time, to become valuable members contributing to society again. And this is what Defy Ventures does. And Melissa, I want to kind of hand it over to you. I want to ask you, I understand that Defy Ventures, I guess, was founded in 2010. It started in New York?
Yeah, sure. And well, thank you again for having me. Really excited to be here. Defy Ventures began in New York, and it was really focused mainly on providing support to people who were already back home in the community, and they were seeing that there were a lot of impediments to starting up their own business. So it was very much focused on people who were already home, but still feeling the collateral consequences of their prior conviction and a lot of barriers and stigma that they were facing. I actually got involved with the program. I've been with Defy for 7 years, and I started in California when Defy had gotten a Google Impact Challenge grant to expand its operations from the East Coast to the West Coast.
So now Defy actually is able to provide guidance and programs to prisoners who are still incarcerated before they get out, so that at least they can kind of come up with a plan,
right,
or have a path to entrepreneurship or being judged fairly for job opportunities that they should be afforded when they are released from prison.
Absolutely. So today, Defy is all about providing pathways to financial independence for people who are currently and formerly incarcerated. So we're in 7 states throughout the country. We operate in 16 state prisons. Here in Illinois, where I'm the executive director of our chapter of the national organization, we're in 3 state institutions. We're in 2 men's facilities and 1 that serves women. We also have a whole host of support for people as they come home in the community. And we also realize that there are people who maybe they never got to take our program while they were inside here in Illinois, but they could still benefit from Defy's program. So we have a lot of free entrepreneurship services for folks who maybe they were detained at the county jail. Maybe they're still on some supervision of some sort. But we feel that wherever they are in the continuum, there are opportunities to connect people to meaningful work, and that gives people purpose. And as you were saying, that gives them an opportunity for a second chance.
This is a very visionary program. As you mentioned, it began in New York in 2010. So the founders of the company, certainly there has to be some capital invested in this. Is it a nonprofit, or can you talk about the structure of it and how the founders were able to find the resources to really convince people, look, stop looking at prisoners as an impediment on society, especially in cases of nonviolent offenders. Right? And the prison system is so privatized now that it's almost like there's more incentive to throw more money at police to put people in prison than recognize this is not a violent crime. I mean, to even like keep them out of prison if it's a nonviolent crime. But those that unfortunately do are expected to do the time for a nonviolent crime. There's a stigma when they come out, and we kind of have to get past that and look past the fact that there are people that make mistakes, and those that are able to learn from them, reform themselves, recognize. Sadly, a lot of nonviolent crime choices are not, I want to go be a criminal. It's there are a lot of hard choices in a lot of neighborhoods, especially across the city. We talk about in Chicago Corner the fact that a lot of kids that get involved in gangs or violence or crimes, they're growing up in families where parents didn't have an example before them. It's it's a generational cycle of when some people are in poverty, when there isn't investment in the communities to provide job opportunities, distract kids with youth centers where they can actually learn what their talents and their potential is, more investment in mental health clinics. A lot of people who live in other neighborhoods that aren't as unfortunate don't realize that these sometimes do come down to bad choices. You know what? Before we continue, I want to be able to share a video with our audience that spotlights many of the members who've come out of the program successfully and share what their experience is that Defy offers them the opportunity with through their organization. So let's take a look at the clip.
I missed years. I wasn't there for those moments when my sons needed me, when my daughters needed me, when my wife was struggling, going through challenges. I wasn't there.
The day I saw my mom, she looked at me and she goes, you know what? I can die now because I know you're home.
Hopefully other incarcerated peoples can see that we are, good for second chances, that we're able to succeed.
The most important thing that I learned is that it is not true that everyone in society hates us who have made mistakes in life.
I'm doing this for my mother because I took her for granted when I was younger. I always argued with her. And she stayed steady, supporting me in my incarceration.
So my goal in life now is to be a contributing member to society and just living that authentic lifestyle.
The volunteers are everything to me. They make you feel like a human being when you know everyone else doesn't.
I'm happy. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we all strive to do, just happy.
It took some years to understand when the grown-ups used to tell me I can do anything I can put my mind to, and taking that, I'm running with it.
That's my goal in life, just to be a regular guy and live life to the fullest.
I'm doing this for my family. After being in prison for 10 years, actually I'm matured and I got this.
I'm doing this for the guys that are left behind. Carry the message of the men inside out, there's an opportunity for redemption and change even if society's already written us off.
It's quite powerful.
Yeah.
When you see the benefits of giving people a second chance. I'd like for you to share with us the different programs and pathways that are offered to participants of the program before they are released, and kind of walk us through how do people that are incarcerated prior to their release know about what Defy offers, the program? I guess take us through the steps of how you, I guess for lack of a better word, promote it amongst those that are incarcerated to know that there's that opportunity. You're giving them a chance and a pathway once they're released.
Sure. So first, it's great to be able to just see that video and to hear your thoughts on it. Several of the people featured in that video are personal friends now, and they've accomplished so much. So how we, build our program, first and foremost, starts with getting buy-in from the State Department of Corrections. So here in Illinois, we are able to partner with correctional folks who allow us to come inside their facilities and start offering the program, which is a huge benefit because there are some systems that are perhaps resistant to rehabilitative programming, but we're really fortunate that we're able to serve here. So we have a proprietary curriculum. It's called CEO of Your New Life, and that is the program that the individuals you saw in the video got to take. It's a 6 to 9 month program, and it focuses on employment readiness, personal development and well-being, and entrepreneurship, as well as just how to change thinking, and which ultimately changes behavior, because it's not just a class to teach you how to get a job. It's not just a class to teach you about business. It actually is more holistic. We look at the 5 keys to reentry well-being. What's going to help people actually thrive when they come home, not just survive. So it's a really extensive program that lets people start to see themselves in a new light, not as just a number, not as a word like offender or prisoner, but rather as a human being. We're still all human beings, regardless of what choices we've made. And as you stated, there are also circumstances, often systemic circumstances. We know that there is intense racial and social injustice that goes into our legal system. And people often say that the system works how it was designed to. It tends to lock up brown and black folks from marginalized communities. Here in our city of Chicago, 54% of people who are incarcerated at the state level go back to 7 or 8 neighborhoods on the south and west sides. So we have to think about that as a community. Most people who are going inside come back, and they're our neighbors. They become our friends, or they are our friends. They are our family members. They are members of the overall community. And how do we want to welcome them back? Do we want them to go back to the same circumstances that they went in? Or do we want to give them new opportunities, new skill sets? And I think the other piece about Defy that's really special is our community of support. That's like our secret sauce. We bring in business executives to do coaching and mentorship while people are in CEO of Your New Life.
Well, this also lowers the am I pronouncing recidivist rate correctly?
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that, because I was looking at the numbers and I was really impressed. Was it less than
10%?
Less than 10%. Yeah, recidivism now as a result of the benefits of this program.
Right. That's right. Yes, we've seen that, across the board, nationally, graduates of the CEO of Your New Life program, 1 year post-release, are not going back to jail or prison on a new conviction or a revocation of any kind for their parole, et cetera, at a rate of less than 10%. And if you look at national numbers, I mean, you can see anything from 30 to 50% of people returning when there are no interventions of this nature. So you think about it from a business standpoint. If you had a business that was failing at almost 50% of the time, would you want that business to continue to go forward? Would you want to invest in that? Or think about it from the perspective of Defy, where, across the board, where we all program, it's about $77,000 to incarcerate someone per year,
crazy,
right?
Crazy.
To serve in Defy's programs, it's only about $2,500 a person to give them all of this education, this access to a really robust curriculum, and a feeling of self-worth and self-efficacy. And then when people come home, we provide that bridge. We don't just stop doing our work when they're inside. They come home, we continue to give them mentorship. We give every graduate a Chromebook. We do digital upskilling. We give them access to, food, fellowship, and fun as well, giving them a sense of community. And then for some people who do desire to start their own business, we have a whole host of business acceleration components that we offer as well. Again, and all of this is free to our participants. We're a nonprofit, so we raise philanthropic dollars from the community, from foundations, governmental sources, all in service of being able to really meet people where they're at and give them what they need to thrive.
So you mentioned entrepreneurship. There are 2 pathways. There's the pathway of training and job training so that people can find work. Then there's the path to entrepreneurship. Let's talk first about the first path, which is helping place people with jobs.
Yeah.
How does Defy reach out or make the connections within the workplace community that might be a little adverse because of a member's prior history to really help alleviate the fears that they should be given a second chance, and these are valuable, worthwhile people that should be looked at as being valuable and I, for lack of a better phrase, forgiven, because they are trying to take a pathway to a newer, better life, better choices.
Sure. I mean, I think that the first thing that we start with when we're talking with hiring managers is to reflect on the notion, would any of us want to be defined by the worst thing we've ever done? And that there are many people, myself included, we've all made mistakes and, we've gotten grace for a second chance. And one of the major inoculants to people going back inside or committing more offenses is, as I said it before, having a sense of purpose. And being connected to meaningful work is actually one of the best ways that we can increase public safety in our community. I mean, the research actually does show that. You were talking earlier about gun and gang violence in the city. And actually having viable job training programs and a conduit to real employment, real opportunities that are career trajectory, not just well, I don't want to do this work, so let's give it to somebody who was previously incarcerated, right? I'm not talking about that. But real work that gives people access to sustainable living wages. That's the kind of employment partners that we develop. So we develop those relationships on a national level, and we also develop them locally. So I go out into the community a lot, and I meet with business leaders, and I talk to them about, well, what are your pain points? And certainly right now, one of the major issues is that, they're looking for a great workforce. And we say we have untapped talent. We have people who have amazing skill sets and are hungry to work. And so how can we build a partnership, but do that in such a way that is really supportive and understanding of where people have been coming from? Because certainly, there are challenges that people are facing in their reentry that maybe hiring managers are not aware of. Maybe they've never dealt with probation or parole before. And what does that look like? But that's where Defy, I think, comes in, and we're kind of the intermediary or the translator, right? And we help provide a safe landing for the people when they're coming home, but also help support our employment partners to say, you're going to get great talent. And people who've gone through, I would argue, a 6 or 8 month job interview, they're getting a lot of skills by going through Defy. And we're kind of vetting people for you in many respects and demonstrating to you that they actually have the chops to do this work. We're not saying to give a handout in any way. We're saying give people a fair shake.
Give a hand up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing is that we partner with an academic institution, the Drucker School of Management out of Claremont Graduate University has taken a look at our curriculum, and everybody who actually completes it and passes a final exam gets a certificate of entrepreneurship, which is a credential they can put on their resume. So it's demonstrating to employers that people deserve an opportunity to show you what they have. And many people inside are extremely entrepreneurial, and they become intrapreneurs. They can really do a lot for your company if you give them an opportunity.
Despite the fact some people might say it's stupid to commit a crime, smart people commit crimes when they make that choice. So
for sure.
If you can redirect the intelligence of people into something more valuable and worthwhile, let me ask you a question. So I would imagine that there are some businesses that might be resistant to the idea of hiring, giving opportunities to people who are, have a record. How do you help guide them past that resistance to recognizing that you've got valuable, that you've got valuable talent. That can help their businesses.
Well, I think that, we do that really by getting people proximate. So that means that we invite companies, the C-suite, hiring managers, we invite business executives to come inside and meet the folks in our program. So rather than me just telling you stories or showing you a video, I invite all your viewers too, to check out Defy and come and volunteer with us for a day. It will change your mind. It will shift the perceptions that you have about those who've been impacted by the legal system in immeasurable ways. Because you'll start to see that there's a lot more similarities between all of us than differences. And so we host business coaching days, and we actually run Shark Tank style competitions inside prison as well, which are pretty phenomenal. And we do empathy building exercises. So we start that process while people are still inside. And then we do the volunteerism and mentorship also when people come home. And I think that by people telling their stories, I mean, that's what this is right now, right? Yeah. We're sharing an opportunity to get to know one another. That's when the humanity gets there. I think that's when a lot of those preconceived notions can be broke down. And then I would also say that we run fair chance hiring workshops and reentry simulations as well for companies, so we can help them think through their hiring practices. Sometimes they've never even evaluated why do they have a particular rule that they do have about somebody who has a background. And, that I think interrogating those things that maybe were just on your desk when you first showed up is really important.
I would imagine there's also a therapeutic mental health component to preparing people for these opportunities to recognize and basically reaffirm or recapture their self-worth.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why I said, our work is evidence informed. We have taken a look at the canon of what works in reducing recidivism. And I would say about 60 to 70% of our content in our curriculum is that personal development and wellness piece, right? So we're thinking about how to create positive social relationships and positive coping strategies, how to increase self-efficacy. Again, how for people to reclaim who they are in the world and not be only stigmatized or thought about as the conviction on their record. And I think that we really have to also take a look at the fact that there are many people you mentioned that have committed nonviolent offenses, particularly nonviolent drug offenses. And we have seen society has changed, laws have changed, and there are people inside that are still doing time for things that there are entrepreneurs in this community right now that are making pretty significant amounts of money. So we have to think about, where are we as a community and what are our values? And I think we all know that we tend to show our resources, our money, our time, our effort in the value of what we think is right and fair, but then that can also shift, right? Like we'll kind of put all that in one aspect of like, oh, well, these group of people deserve all these things, right? But then, I think that it doesn't really allow for us to always deal with the things that come up for who we are. We have to really, we do an exercise called Step to the Line. So we really have to think about what are our values? Who are we? How do we want to show up? How would we want to be treated? How would we want our family members to be treated? Sure. And that, I think, kind of moves things forward too when hiring managers.
In the 5 minutes we've got left in the broadcast, I just want to make sure I cover two other points that I think are important. First, just so we can kind of keep track of how much time I can have you speak to both.
Sure.
You also offer the pathway to entrepreneurship.
Right.
Also, I want to find out how can the community get involved in what Defy Ventures offers to participate, attend the events that you're talking about now. So if they're looking for a great, strong workforce that they weren't aware of, that they can give people an opportunity that need it, how they can find you guys and be involved in that process.
Sure. So first and foremost, yes, we have a whole entrepreneurship pathway. So when people come home and they have been stabilized in their reentry, if they still desire to start up a small business, they can join our free business accelerator. So we give people access to their own executive mentor and higher level entrepreneurial content. And ultimately, if they have a viable, scalable business idea, they can pitch for funding from Defy. So again, we raise philanthropic dollars, which we then work to deploy to our entrepreneurs. We also have a free entrepreneurship boot camp. We're recruiting right now for it. So if there's any community member who's been impacted by the legal system, who's 18 and over, you can apply. Again, this is a free program. It's actually even online. So we try to make it super accessible for people to take. And so it's a 14-week program. At the end of that program, they have the opportunity again to get that credential that I mentioned from the Drucker School of Management. We do coaching. So along that program, they get 3 coaching days with our volunteers from the community. So sometimes in the business world, you pay a lot of money, right, for somebody to give you advice. Sure. And this is, again, all free. And then ultimately, they can, again, be part of that business accelerator and pitch for funding. So we run 2 entrepreneurship boot camps per year. The class that we're recruiting for right now starts on August 2nd.
How can employers find Defy Ventures? Also share the website or talk about what is the process for potential employers to get involved in the programs that you offer to make that connection for people?
Yeah, so we're always looking for corporate partners. So there are, employee resource groups. There are HR departments can contact Defy. If you're looking for talent, we would love to connect with you to see if there are ways that we can create hiring events specifically for our graduates to come and learn about the opportunities that you might have at your company, we would also invite you to come in. We're running business coaching days and those Shark Tank style competitions I mentioned at the institutions right now. For example, we're having one at the Logan Correctional Center, which is a facility that serves women. And we're going to be having this event on August 30th. We're looking for volunteers who, if you've ever wanted to be the Mark Cuban for a day, come with us and you can, get that opportunity to hear really great business ideas. So get proximate, learn about what we do, meet our folks, hear their stories, and, put your dollars, put your time, put your resources into something that can make a difference in shifting the narrative.
Employers, businesses, give people a second chance. I really encourage everybody watching this broadcast. If you have a business, are looking for workers, new employees, this is a great talent and labor and workforce to potentially recruit from. And I think it really will make a difference, especially in the longer, broader implications of giving people another chance that might not have the opportunities, that you don't want people to drift back into bad habits or bad choices that, are at the heart of everything we're trying to help fix and prevent, and giving people opportunities and jobs and creating a better community for all of us. So, Melissa, listen, I want to thank you for joining us today. To everybody watching, please tune in to us on YouTube at Chicago Corner. We broadcast Tuesdays and Friday nights live, and you can participate in the live chat. Join us on the show, and remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Thanks for joining us.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. If you would like to be a guest on Chicago Corner, please email our host, Jerry, at chicagocorner.tv.